I know there are some people who think the Riddler is a lame, goofy Batman villain. I honestly don't get it. If you stop and think about it, every Batman villain is a little ridiculous. That's part of what makes them so memorable. Ever since I first got into Batman, though, the Riddler has always stood out as one of my absolute favorite Batman villains. The King of Conundrums is far more than a guy in a green suit who leaves riddles at crime scenes. He's one of the greatest villains in all of fiction, and by the end of this video, I'm going to prove exactly why. Before we get into it, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It won't cost you anything, except your undying devotion to me. Before I get into why the Riddler is such a perfect villain, I want to make one thing clear. I'm only talking about the comic book version of the character. No movies, no TV shows, no video games, just the comics. Now, the Riddler isn't physically intimidating. He's not the kind of villain who's going to overpower Batman in a fist fight, but the Riddler fights Batman somewhere much more interesting: his mind. Batman has to think several moves ahead, unravel layers of deception, and understand how the Riddler thinks before he can stop him. That's what makes him a worthy adversary, regardless of what his critics say. But being an effective opponent isn't what makes the Riddler one of the greatest Batman villains. Plenty of characters can challenge Batman. What makes Edward Nygma truly fascinating is why he does what he does. Unlike other regular criminals, the Riddler isn't malicious. Okay, he's certainly not a good or healthy person, and his crimes can be incredibly dangerous, but underneath all of it is someone desperately craving validation. In many ways, he's like a child constantly demanding attention, except his way of getting it is by committing elaborate riddle-themed crimes. That's why the riddles themselves are so important. Logically, they make no sense. Every clue he leaves behind only increases Batman's chances of catching him. If his goal were money, revenge, or power, he'd stop leaving clues altogether. But he can't. His compulsion is stronger than his self-preservation. The riddles aren't just messages, they're an invitation. They're his way of saying, see how brilliant I am, acknowledge I'm the smartest man in the room. That obsession is what elevates the Riddler from a clever criminal into a gently compelling character. His greatest strength, his extraordinary intelligence, is chained to his greatest flaw: his overwhelming ego. He doesn't lose because he's stupid. Quite the opposite. He loses because he cannot resist proving how smart he is. That's the tragedy of the Riddler. He is legit smart, but his compulsive need to prove himself ensures he'll always be the architect of his own downfall. Overall, the Riddler is a 10 out of 10. He's the perfect intellectual rival to Batman, forcing the world's greatest detective to solve problems instead of simply fighting his way through them. But beyond that, Edward Nygma is every bit as psychologically compelling as Batman's other greatest foes. His desperate need for validation, his obsession with proving his superiority, and an arrogance that is so entertaining makes him one of the most fascinating characters in Batman's rogues gallery. And that's exactly why he continues to be such a compelling villain after all these years. As always, stay tuned.